Getting into the fashion industry is not easy. You face a lot of challenges along the way, but each struggle is there to teach you something. So in this video, I'm sharing the 3 biggest challenges I faced in fashion and how I overcame them. And I hope that by sharing my journey, you'll feel way more confident that you start your own journey in fashion. So when I first started IFM, the school I went to in Paris, I constantly faced, self-doubt and imposter syndrome. I always had that feeling that I didn't belong in the fashion industry, that I was an outsider, an outcast. And maybe it was because I didn't have any creative backgrounds like most people at the school. I would look at my classmates and think they have way more talent, they have way more experience, I'll never catch up. This only made me feel isolated and, unsure of my own progress. And to be honest, these thoughts had a huge impact on my mental health. There were times where I felt like I wasn't good enough and I didn't deserve to even be there, and even when I received positive feedback, I would always, question my abilities, always. And I also relied too much on other people's opinion on my own work, which made it, super difficult to trust, my own creative instincts. So how did I overcome this? The only thing I did and the only thing I could have done was to reframe my focus and my thinking. I started to focus on my own unique strength instead of seeing what I was less good at or focusing on others. Ultimately, I realized that I was in school to learn and not knowing everything was totally normal. And this really made, a difference in the long run. So the second challenge I faced was not knowing where to start. Before I applied to fashion school, I was completely lost. I knew I wanted to pursue fashion, but the application process felt like a huge puzzle with, missing pieces. How do I create a portfolio? What should I include? What work should I include in it? Where do I start with the application process? What makes an application process stand out? I had all of these questions and no answer at all. I had no idea where to begin and I was completely overwhelmed. But without any direction or mentor, to guide me, I felt stuck, questioning if I was even capable of creating a good application and eventually getting accepted. There was so much to figure out, sketches, portfolio, application, what school I even wanted to go to. There was so much. So how did I overcome it? I didn't know anyone in the fashion industry, so I had to figure it out on my own. And it took me a lot more time than if I had someone there to help me. To overcome not knowing where to start, I did a lot of research, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of articles, a lot of books even. And I started to break everything down to small little steps. And I realized that I wasn't overwhelmed because there was too much to do. I just didn't know where to start. Another thing that I did was to focus on the specific requirements that each school I wanted to go to required, which gave me clarity on what to prioritize in my portfolio and my overall application. And I also reached out to people, alumni who were in the school I wanted to go to and asked for feedback on my portfolio and my overall application. And I received a lot of messages back, and this really, really helped me. And on that note, I created an ebook to help you get into any top fashion schools in the world and how you can also get your first fashion experience, internship, job. To be honest, it's everything I would have wanted when I was trying to get into fashion school, from how to create a portfolio, the overall application, and what I also would have wanted when I was trying to get an internship. So I basically created this ebook for my younger self, and I'm sure it can help you too. The final challenge that I had was to stand out in a crowded industry. A lot of people are trying to break into the fashion industry, and it's easy to feel invisible in a way when so many people are trying to get the same opportunities. So when I was trying to get, my first internship, I had to figure out a way to be different. To be different from everyone who's trying to get the same internship as me. And sometimes no matter how hard you work, it feels like your work has no impact. So how did I overcome this? So first of all, the way I differentiated myself to get into school, IFM in Paris, was to focus on my competitive advantage. Instead of focusing on what I didn't have, which was my creative background, if you want, I focused on what I had. Everyone has a competitive advantage, and mine was my international background. So I really made sure to really emphasize it in my application, and it's really what, made me stand out. So ask yourself, what is my competitive advantage? Take a moment to think about what differentiates you from others. It could be your cultural background, it could be your challenges, it could be your successes, it could be your experiences, it could be whatever. And I also had the same approach when I was trying to get an internship. And I got the internship at Dior because I did think way different from everyone. Instead of applying from their website like everyone does, I sent the manager for the role a personal email. I expressed my motivation for the role, I talked about my qualities, and more importantly, I told them how I was going to help the team out. And I guess they liked my approach because the very next day I had the interview with them. So the most important message from this video is that I did it. And if I did it, you can do it too. I made it to one of the best fashion schools in the world without any creative backgrounds, and I made it to Dior without almost zero experience. And to be honest, I'm no different than you. And it all starts with a belief. Believing in yourself and knowing that you're capable of achieving whatever you set your mind to, whether it's entering the top fashion school or getting your very first internship at the big fashion house or job. So take that first step, trust yourself, and keep going. And don't forget to check the ebook. It could really help you get into any top fashion school you want. That'll be the first link in the description. Now, if you have a question or if you want to talk to me, send me a message on Instagram and put it right here. But first, be sure to follow me. If not, I won't see your message.